It's been a little while, only because I lost my headphones and, frankly, just needed a little bit of, just relaxed time. Um, but yeah, I'm back. Hello. And unfortunately, I have a fatal case of Spider-Man fever right now. Because Spider-Man 2 is coming out soon for the PS5, and it has almost completely taken over my life. And so, as a result, I have started watching all of the Spider-Man films, and over the course of the next few days, I'm gonna talk to you about just all of them. And I keep looking down because I brought the first set with me. I have them on Blu-ray, so the first three Spider-Man movies, well, the biggest three Spider-Man movies. I think there was one that came out in like the 1970s. I'm not going to watch that one. I feel like that one's a little bit irrelevant in terms of influence. I don't think anybody really talks about that one. I might watch it eventually, but I'm just not digging its vibes. So we are going to talk about, we're going to start off by talking about Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, beginning with Spider-Man 1, or Spider-Man, I guess. And I'm watching all these for the first time, so this is pretty exciting for me. I just watched all of these today. And so, yeah, let's jump into it. So, the first Spider-Man is about this 30-year-old, 17-year-old named Peter Parker. He looks like the father of at least two children by the point of the beginning of the film, when he is supposed to be about 17 years old. I've never seen a 17-year-old who looks this, like, financially stable. He looks like he knows what a 401k is, but at any rate, I'm going to stop ragging on him because he does, in fact, look like he understands the ins and outs of the legal system and could probably take me to court for defamation. But he is a nerdy guy. He runs after the bus every day, which is really strange, because if the bus left me when I was going to school, I would go home. He's running after the bus, and, Mary Jane Watson is there, and Mary Jane is, she doesn't look 30, she looks about 20. She's like a 20-year-old, 17-year-old, which isn't too bad. And she's like, hey, we gotta stop, making them chase after the bus, and the bus driver's like, okay, I guess. And he's like, I really like her, she's cute. And then he's also best friends with James Franco, which isn't great, but James Franco also has a crush on Mary Jane, and he's like, I'm gonna flirt with Mary Jane since you can't. And Peter's like, whatever. So they go to a museum that's showing off super spiders, which feels strange to do. And one of them gets out and chomps Peter on the hand when he's taking a creepy picture of Mary Jane for the school paper, which any of the pictures that he took, if I'm honest, would be very creepy to see in a school paper. But anyway, he goes home to his grandparents, who are his aunt and uncle, and they're like, you should come eat. And he's like, no thanks, I was bitten by a spider. And so he goes up to his room, and he lays down on the floor and has a giant bump on his hand. And then we meet Norman Osborn, who's James Franco's dad, and he's like, we just built a Green Goblin suit and a funny little glider. We just built a Green Goblin suit and a funny little glider for the military. Can we have some money for it? And the military guy's like, no. And so Norman Osborn is like, fine then, I'm gonna have some scary juice, and I'm gonna be the scariest guy in town. And he takes the juice, and he does in fact become the scariest guy in town. And considering the fact that the town is New York City, that isn't, that's a pretty high bar. That's an accomplishment. And then Peter, he wrestles with some guy and makes a homophobic joke, and then his uncle grandpa gets shot to death. And he's like, no, I was supposed to go to the library, and instead I told my uncle grandpa that I was wrestling. Well, reverse. He was supposed to wrestle, and he told his uncle grandpa he was going to the library. Either way, he's dead. And so he's like, I'm gonna do Spider-Man stuff now, but only in my pajamas, because it's all I've got. And so he goes in his pajamas, and he finds the guy, and the guy's like, I killed your uncle grandpa, and he's like, you're a jerk. And he throws him out a window. And then Peter's like, now I understand that I should probably not be throwing people out of windows, because my uncle grandpa said that with great power, blah, blah, blah. And so he teams up with the costume department at Sony Pictures and creates a great Spider-Man suit. And from here out, it's pretty much just a cape flick. He's like, I'm Spider-Man, and then Norman Osborn's like, I'm the Green Goblin. And then Green Goblin's like, you should be evil with me. And Peter's like, why would I do that? And then at the very end, Peter's like, oh my god, you're Norman Osborn, you're my friend's dad. And he's like, yeah, I'm your friend's dad, but don't tell him, because then it would mess up everything. He's like, I'm not really sure what it would mess up, but I understand. And then Mary Jane comes to Norman Osborn's funeral and is like, I love you, Peter Parker, I love you so much, and I have always loved you. And Peter's like, it's too late. It's too late. And then he swings off and hangs out on the American flag. And so now we're in the second one. Now we're in Spider-Man 2. And Spider-Man 2 is really cool. Not to be confused with Spider-Man 2, or The Amazing Spider-Man 2, or Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 1, or Spider-Man 2, the movie, the video game, for the PlayStation 2. So this one is about Peter Parker, and he's like, I'm Spider-Man, but I don't make any money anymore. Well, I guess I never made any money, so now I'm delivering pizzas, and he delivers pizzas, and he's really good at delivering pizzas, except that he's not good at delivering pizzas. He actually really sucks, which is weird, because, you'd think you could get around pretty quick if you were Spider-Man. And so he gets fired by the guy from The Last Airbender, and then he meets a guy who's a scientist, and he's like, my name is Octopus, or something. And I'm a scientist. And Peter's like, I want to be a scientist just like Mr. Octopus. And Harry's like, I'm giving Mr. Octopus money to do his science experiments and make, so Mr. Octopus wants to make, like, the sun, but like a little tiny version of the sun, to power New York City and stuff with clean energy. Which, we all know where this is going. This is not a good sign when someone wants to make something that's extremely powerful in a superhero story. So Mr. Octopus is like, I'm going to make the sun with this element. And Peter's like, this is such a great idea. And then everybody in the science community is like, I've never seen a better idea than this. This is the best idea, to make a little sun inside of the city. No one could possibly be harmed from this. Which is not the case, of course, because he uses his robot arms to move around the sun and, like, push in the little rays of sunlight, and then it gets really hot and it blows up his inhibitor chip, which makes his little arms think for themselves now, and they're stuck on his body. And Spider-Man's like, I'm gonna save you, and he pulls the plugs out and stuff, and Mr. Octopus is like, I hate you for doing this to me. And also his wife dies because of some glass that he broke. That was entirely his fault, but he blames Spider-Man for it. And he's like, now I'm gonna, now that I don't have a lab anymore, now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make the sun with more of the stuff that Harry Osborn has in his safe. And so he goes to Harry Osborn's house and he's like, I want that stuff from out of that safe so I can make the sun again but bigger. And Spider-Man is like, he's there and he's like, I'm not going to let you make the sun again. And Harry Osborn is there and he's like, you can make the sun again if you give me Spider-Man, because he killed my dad, I think. And it turns out that Mr. Octopus, he's like, okay, I'll go get Spider-Man so I can have more of that sun stuff. And so he goes and gets Spider-Man and he throws him on the couch, on Harry Osborn's couch. And Harry Osborn is like, it's time to see who Spider-Man is. And, surprise, surprise, it's Peter Parker. And he's like, oh my God, you were my best pal. And he's like, yeah, I'm your best pal, and I killed your dad, but guess what? I don't care right now, because I'm fighting an octopus man. And Harry's like, wow, I'm messed up from this situation. And then Peter's like, I gotta stop that guy from making a giant sun. And meanwhile, Mr. Octopus is making a giant sun near the river. Like, what's he making a giant sun for near the river? And Peter's like, you gotta stop making this sun, because you're actually a pretty cool dude, so don't destroy New York City, please. And he's like, you're right, I'm not gonna destroy New York City. Let's actually just throw this in the river, and I'll go in the river too. And so the sun and Mr. Octopus go into the river, and Mary Jane was held captive there, and Peter saved Mary Jane. And Mary Jane was like, oh my God, you're Spider-Man's Peter. Oh my God, Peter, you're Spider-Man. And Peter's like, yeah, I'm Spider-Man, but now you get why, we can't date, because, being Spider-Man's way more interesting than literally any few minutes with you. And she's like, no, that's fair. And Peter's like, I gotta keep being Spider-Man. And she's like, well, you can keep being Spider-Man, but, I'm into it. That's pretty hot to me. And he's like, okay, well, you can hang out, you can do your thing, you can hang around, but I gotta keep being Spider-Man, I can't stop being Spider-Man. She's like, I'm totally chill with that, and I will cancel my marriage so that I can be with you. And that's Spider-Man 2. And now we get into the worst of the three, in my opinion, Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 is a dumb Spider-Man movie compared to the last two. The first one was really good. The second one was great. This one is kind of a trash fire because there's so much happening. It's like a Power Rangers episode. So it starts with Spider-Man. Everyone in New York loves Spider-Man. Oh my God, Spider-Man's here. And, everybody loves Spider-Man. And Gwen Stacy's here now. And Gwen Stacy's like, I want to touch Spider-Man's butt real bad. And Spider-Man, Peter Parker in Spider-Man's suit is like, I'm into it. I have a girlfriend, but Spider-Man doesn't have a girlfriend, so it's not cheating that much. And Mary Jane's like, please stop doing this. Why are you doing this? He's like, I'm actually gonna keep doing this. And then some black goo comes out from space. It's literally out of nowhere. There's no lead up for this. And it comes home on Peter Parker's shoe, and he gets all gooped up. And he gets a black suit, which is I'm sporting here. And he gets, faster, stronger, and he gets a cool costume, and he gets really nasty, and he turns into an MCR fan, which is interesting. And he's really mean to everybody in his life, and he's really violent, and he beats up this guy who's made out of dirt. And the guy who's made out of dirt actually killed his uncle, not the guy from the first movie, a different guy. And he beats him up, and he makes him into mud, and then he tells his Aunt May that he killed him, or that Spider-Man killed him. And Aunt May's like, that is actually really bad. And also Peter is trying to marry Mary Jane, and that whole situation just doesn't go well. And then there's a guy who's a new photographer at the newspaper that Peter Parker works at. And he's like, I'm going to take pictures of Spider-Man. And Peter's like, you can't take pictures of Spider-Man. I take pictures of Spider-Man. He's like, I'm going to take your pictures and make them my pictures and doctor them and then get a job at the newspaper. And Peter's like, you're a little butthead, and gets him fired. And his girlfriend breaks up with him because he's a nasty boy. And then Peter's like, I'm tired of this alien goop. It's making me mean. And so he takes it off of him at a church, and then the alien goop goes on to the new guy, and he turns into Venom. And like, he's really dumb and bad. And then Venom's like, hey, Mr. Dirt Guy, let's team up and beat up Spider-Man. And Harry is back, and he's like, I'm gonna kill Spider-Man now, like with a sword and a snowboard. And then they fight, and then Harry gets messed up, and then he is not messed up anymore. And Peter's like, hey, Harry, let's go kill the evil Spider-Man, the Venom guy, and the Dirt Guy. Let's go beat him up. And Harry's like, yeah, I'm all for it. And so they beat him up, and it takes a lot for him to beat up the Dirt Guy because he turns big. He's a big Dirt Guy. He's a really giant Dirt Guy. And Venom was like, you can't beat me up. I'm invincible to everything. And then he just clangs a few metal pipes around, and Venom is like pretty much down for the count. And Venom, before he goes, he kills Harry. He kills Harry Osborn. He kills James Franco. And he's like, I'm so sorry that I was nasty and I tried to kill you with a sword and a snowboard. And Peter's like, hey, it's okay. And then the Dirt Guy comes back, and he's like, I'm sorry I killed your Uncle Grandpa. And Peter's like, I forgive you. And Venom is dead, so he doesn't say anything. And Mary Jane's like, we have problems. And Peter's like, yeah. And then that's Spider-Man 3, and that's the end of it. Honestly, it was the weakest of the three, but there's a lot of cool stuff in there, and Spider-Man 3 is really funny. So overall, the Raimi movies, the Sam Raimi directed movies, are pretty good. I'd recommend them. And then up next are the Andrew Garfield ones, and I'm really excited about those because I really like Andrew Garfield. So yeah, see you later.